The Women's World Cup kicked off in Paris this weekend, and once again, as Lisa Desjardins returns to tell us, the Americans are favored to win it all.
The U.S. team takes the field tomorrow against Thailand in its opening match with high hopes of hoisting the cup about a month from now. The Americans have won 3 World Cups since the women's competition first began in the 90s. But the competition may be closing in. France, England, and Germany are all considered threats. For the U.S., there is also a most unusual backdrop. Members of the team sued the U.S. Soccer Federation this spring over long-standing allegations of gender discrimination and violations of the Equal Pay Act. To help unpack all of this, I'm joined by the great Christine Brennan, a sports writer and sports columnist for USA Today. Christine, welcome.
Thanks, Lisa. Great to be here.
Let's start with this World Cup.
Yeah.
All right, the U.S. team has dominated since there were rankings at all. What are their strengths? What are their possible vulnerabilities this year? Tell us about this team.
Lisa, this is a veteran team, and I think for every viewer who remembers Brandi Chastain going back 20 years now, Mia Hamm, this is the next generation, and they are strong, and they're ranked #1 in the world, and they should win the World Cup. It's not saying they will, because competition it's the greatest day in women's soccer today until tomorrow in terms of the level of play, and that's just around the world, not just the U.S. But this is a veteran team, 12 returning players from the 2015 team that won the World Cup in Canada. The names are Alex Morgan, you've got Megan Rapinoe, you've got Carly Lloyd, who was the star of the 2015 team. Megan Rapinoe is someone who actually took a knee in support of Colin Kaepernick at one game. So you've got someone who's also very socially active. She is an out athlete, and she was the first openly gay athlete to be on the cover of on Sports Illustrated in the swimsuit issue. So you've got storylines galore.
Who's the biggest competition?
Without a doubt, it's France. I mean, obviously, they're the host, lots of pressure on them. They've never, ever gotten to the level where they would win either a World Cup or an Olympics. Interestingly, if the U.S. does what it's supposed to do, France does what it's supposed to do, they'll meet in the quarterfinals. One of the top 2 teams, 3 teams in the world would go out in the quarterfinals.
What I love about this team, they can strike from up close, but they can strike from crazy far away, like the middle of the field. I'll put in a word for my favorite #9, Lindsey Horan, who I'm watching. But let's talk more about this cultural story. Yeah. Tell us what these women are trying to do. It is the entire team that has sued U.S. Soccer, saying that they are not given the same treatment as the men and not the same pay. In some cases, they say half the pay, yet they play more games.
Right. This is a storyline that's been going, again, really since '99, because right after they won that World Cup, and we're the only story ever in the history of stories to be on the cover of Time, Newsweek, People, Sports Illustrated, all the way back 20 years ago in the Rose Bowl that beautiful day, July 10th, 1999, not that I remember. But then within a few months, they were striking. And this has been a constant battle with their federation over travel conditions, over pay conditions, over the opportunity to market themselves, and missed opportunities galore.
And the turf, even at something that they sometimes were playing on not as good turf, AstroTurf.
4 years ago, Lisa, absolutely. In Canada, the men would never play on artificial turf. The women were forced to play on artificial turf, which you can get more injuries. It's just a tougher surface to play on. So women have been second-class citizens in soccer from the get-go, and in this case, they're very busy right now focusing on soccer. But when they get back, that conversation about gender equity is going to keep coming up, and the gap is extraordinary between what the men make and what the women make around the world. And of course, the U.S. men are nowhere near as good, or obviously winning as many titles as the women are.
U.S. Soccer has said that these are different groups of players with different contracts and doing different jobs. The women say that's not true, that they're doing the same job, in fact, sometimes working harder. But also you hear sometimes U.S. soccer officials say, listen, women do not bring as much revenue in, and that's why that they're not getting paid as much. They don't always make that argument, but they have.
Sure they
How
have.
do you see that?
Yeah, well, what the women say in return, Lisa, is that they're not getting the opportunities. The Federation is not marketing them and not thinking of ways to market them. And so if you're not marketing them, then you may not be making the same kind of money. Certainly worldwide, soccer is that last bastion of male supremacy. And the ingrained sexism and misogyny in European soccer, in South American soccer, is extraordinary. And that is exactly the world that the U.S. Federation is in. They've done some good things, but I think because they are in the U.S., they're getting the kind of scrutiny that they should get, and that an American audience demands, especially in regards to how we treat our daughters, our sisters, as they grow up. And I think that's the reason this conversation. But this is the team that wins. This is the team that wins all the time, and that should mean something, I think, in this conversation.
Christine Brennan, always good to have you here. And we'll watch another U.S. team that could make history on a few levels.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.